All right, so we're back on my channel. This time I have a very interesting guest. This is Maria from the SF show.
Hi everyone. Hiya. Yeah, so it's Maria. As you can see from the screen, double feminine, SeFi. Can see in place, feet left.
Yes. And so you were typed as a social one by
Yeah.
Dave, right? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Do you think that it was hard to initially see the social one from your typing video that you probably did a typing video that you sent Dave, right? Or
No, actually, so I went through the Dave audios because I was having observer problems. I was having life path problems. And
yeah.
one of the things that he, as part of his process of helping me with the specific question that I had, was to try to figure out all of the different parts that were coming together to create the problems that I was having. And he mentioned that he thinks a lot of what I was going through was based on like number one isms. And obviously, as we went through the back and forth with the tapes, he was like, "Yeah, I'll have a little bit more clearer idea about that as we kind of send tapes back and forth." And yeah, I guess in the end he was like, yeah, number one. Makes sense.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So the moment that you got back, I mean, the moment that he told you that you were a one through that exchange you were saying, um, did it immediately like make sense, or did you have any questions about, I don't know, maybe responsibility, special license? Those coins are a little more unclear still.
Mm. Um, I hadn't really processed the social types as well as the 512s. So I still was building a bit of an NI for myself about what
Hmm.
the different coins actually mean. But one thing I could definitely see was the responsibility. I thought I was a number two from what I had understood of the social types so far, and that was very little already. I was pretty confident that I was savior responsibility. I could see that in myself. I could see that a lot more clearly than all the other things. So I actually thought, as I was like trying to process the social types, I actually thought I was number two.
Hmm. Interesting.
Mhm.
I see. Okay, so responsibility was really easy for you to see. Can you expand more on that? Like, Um, what's like maybe you have some examples of when you take on more things onto your workload that maybe are just not part of your job description?
Yeah, so I think it's just wanting to take ownership of every aspect of my life, especially if I know that this aspect of my life is going to become a problem. Because you have that foresight of, oh, actually, if I don't stay on top of this thing, it's going to trip me up later. So for me, it was just I always knew that I had that kind of mindset where I was like, um, yeah, I can't just let things fall on the wayside. Whatever it is, I have to take ownership of every aspect of my life. Um, and yeah, so you're looking for specific examples.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so I
Something at
would
work or
say,
maybe at home.
yeah, so maybe at home, it's wanting to wanting to stay on top of every part of like home life. So making sure that I have a good laundry routine, a good meal prep routine, all of these things that I could probably just like outsource to other people. I have to kind of take responsibility. I have to know exactly what is involved because the idea of it becoming a problem later on for me just because I don't know how to handle this situation for me is like, yeah, it's like no. I would rather just know how to handle it and be able to stay on top of it so that when things do start to pile up at home, at least I'm not being tripped up because of my own like ineptitude. It's probably things that are outside of my control.
Hmm. All right. So you are you saying that you tend to try to take care of things ahead of time so that they don't end up getting out of control? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, I mean, obviously being last is I don't do that as well as the last, but the need for me to stay on top of things is there. I
Hmm.
need to. take ownership. So like you know, starting meal prep, laundry routines, and having a cleaning routine, just little things at home, everyday jobs that I know that are going to, if I don't stay on top of things, it's going to mess me up. You know, it's going to mess up my day. It's going to make life difficult for me. So I
Yeah.
now have to look into how do I stay on top of this, and then I
Hmm.
have to own that and be able to say, okay, this is a job that I know how to do. Um,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, of course. That's interesting. So, wow. So I'm curious. So you're seeing a lot of the responsibility, but what's going on with the flex? I mean, like for example, like I have like this giant lion behind me, and like I don't have to have a lion behind me, right? But for whatever reason, I mean, I put this up there like before the social types even came out. Like this is just kind of how my brain is.
Mm,
So like, a lion is an apex predator. So which is basically, he's the top of the food chain in his environment.
mm,
So number one's kind of aligned with that type of either mentality or image or just how they play, right? So are you seeing yourself kind of like bringing that theme into your vibe, or let's say it that way, I guess.
yeah. So I'm not really seeing, what did you call it? Apex.
Apex
Apex.
predator. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really seeing it as that. What I processed so far is I'm seeing it as I am driven by not wanting to fall behind. So an example that I give you is, Tina from the from the community. She's MFME, and
Yeah.
also considering social type number one as well.
Hmm.
So we were having a conversation the other day about number ones, and trying to process potentially being a number one. And automatically, as soon as she told me that she was a number one, and she was telling me all the things that line up with being number one, I was like, oh damn, that's another person I have to now compete with. But it
Oh.
wasn't coming from like a malicious, like I need to crush you kind of thing. So for me, it's more like I'm very much aware of the people who are in my arena, the people who are in my lane, and it's a need to want to keep up with those people, because the
Hmm.
very worst thing for me is to feel like I'm behind. So in comes Tina, potentially social type number one, basically my twin type, which is MFME.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, we have the same struggles. We're in the same lane, right, in life. Um,
Hmm.
so now she's my competition, because if she starts doing well in life, then that makes me feel like I'm now falling behind. So as soon as she brought up this idea of her being social type number one, I was like, okay, that's another person now I have to compete with. So now she's on my radar as somebody that I have to like watch out for, because
Yeah.
the second that she starts doing well, I'm now going to be like, okay, no, it's time to pull up my socks. I need to keep up. I need to keep up. So I think for me, it's less about wanting. Maybe there is a part of that, and I do thrive if I do find myself in a position where I'm at the top. I thrive in that. I don't feel uncomfortable. I kind of revel in it sometimes, maybe, the ego. But it's more like where I can see people who are my quote unquote competition. And again, this is not coming from a malicious way. It feels like it's a need for me to be able to survive, for me to be able to keep up with these people in my lane. So I can't be the one who's now falling behind. So as soon as Tina, for example, as soon as if I see Tina starting to do well in life, now I'm like, okay, I need to get my shit together. Um,
Yeah.
I need to keep up. You know.
Hmm. So it's completely based on so okay, so now I need to like try to make sure I understand correctly um from what you've already said about once before in the posts that we were commenting on the other day. About you were saying that you're your own enemy and you try to target yourself. You want people to tell you negative feedback so that you can work on yourself. But
Yeah.
that kind of conflicts with what you're saying now, that like with the example with Tina, how you feel competitive and you feel like, oh well, if she's doing good in life, then I have to as well. Like now I have to match her and more, and that kind of thing, right? So, um, how is that tying together with what you had said about it before?
It's more of the fact that if I now see Tina doing well, I'm now looking at my own pile and thinking, oh, this is a pile of crap now. So I need to, this is the bar has been raised even further. So now I
Mhm.
have to use that as a comparison to see where I am, where I'm doing, and how well I'm doing. Do you know what I mean?
So,
So
wait a
it's
second. So that means that you are creating your own negative feedback by um, taking what you see about another person as if that automatically says something about you. Is that correct?
yeah, yeah, it's not smart, which is why I wouldn't recommend being a number one.
In what ways is that not smart then?
Well, because one thing that I was also processing with Tina is this. It's one of the dangers of that is building a low self esteem because you're just never happy. You like
Mhm.
even if you accomplish something, even if you reach a milestone, even if you level up, there's always more that you can do. I'm always wanting to do better. I'm always wanting to do more. I'm always wanting to improve. So it just feels like it's a never ending I'm a never ending sculpture, I keep trying to mess with myself and tinker with myself and improve with myself, but it's like you never actually sit down and just enjoy being who you are. And so with that, you put a lot more pressure on yourself. And so with that, you start to develop if you're not careful, start to develop low self esteem because you're like, I'm never good enough. I can never get anything right. I can never do anything good enough. There's just always more for me to do, always more for me to improve. I could be doing better. And it's just, yeah, it's
Mm.
pretty self defeating, pretty exhausting.
Interesting. So, do you think the goal is um, that now this particularly makes me curious because I feel like there's different parts to being a number one, of course. Like one of them is to be good enough. Like it is to be to try to be competitive and good on the spectrum, right? But then there's other parts where like one's trying to be inspiring and actually make a change in things and try to lead and be the authority and that kind of thing. So that's a totally different goalpost, right? Um, are you seeing that other side of it where you are like focused on trying to lead something or um, like give feedback that is meant to change something else or somebody else?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was having another conversation with another SE, no, TISE, number one, consume, sleep, play best. And we were talking about that very same thing. Whereas a common phrase that you might hear me say is that I guess I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to show them. I'm gonna have to show them how it's done, not how it's done, but like how to do it. So it feels like there is a sense of okay, nobody else is doing it, so I must be the one to lead the. I must be the one to lead by example. For example, um, so I'm seeing that kind of narrative playing in my head all the time, where it's like nobody else is taking responsibility for this, nobody else is doing this, and then it's now become a thing where it's like, okay, so if I want things to happen in the way that in my head I see them, it's like, okay, I'm the one who's going to have to lead by the example. And I've definitely, I don't want to do that. It's exhausting, it's tiring, it's more work, but it feels like I'm responsible for being the one who has to lead by example.
So when you're saying lead by example, does that mean you're going to take the lead and like already do things correctly and expect everybody else does it the same way? Is that kind of what you mean, or how do you mean that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like I want to model the behavior that I expect to see in other people, or I'm now having to model the behavior that I want to expect from other people. So, example, um, I was having a bit of a conflict with my brother a couple of months ago, and it was really stupid. It was one of those situations where we were both being stubborn. Nobody was gonna be the bigger person or whatever. And then I was kind of black waiting for him to do that. And then in the end, I was like, oh, you know what? This is is not going to happen. I need to be the one who leads by example. So let me do this thing and then show them that this is the standard. This is, what I expect. And so I kind of took it upon myself to start to model that behavior. In my head, it was like, okay, so if he sees me do this, unconsciously, he's going to be, I don't know, motivated, encouraged, or just in some way want to do the same in some way.
I see. Hmm. That's interesting because to contrast that with number fours, I mean, people that have they leave with friends, their approach is more so to stay connected with people and become their friends, and they're like less pushy in general. So I don't think they would do something so directly to influence somebody else like that.
Mm.
Um, I do want to talk about fun. So there's this idea. I was talking to Manley about this, but like we both related to like we really restrict ourselves um for just anything that has to do with achieving our goals. So um like for example, I'm in college and I remember there was like a semester where I was really struggling because of my mental health, and I just started
Mm.
pushing on myself to go to the library every single day to study for 5 hours and did like this crazy shit to
Yeah,
try to overcome the fact that I was struggling
yeah,
for like medical reasons. So like I still needed to be almost competitive. Like and I do use that like word in my head. I'm like I need to be competitive despite the ways that I'm struggling. Like even
yeah,
when I'm down, I need to be up. Like even when I'm
yeah,
down. So
yeah,
so I have like that type of mentality, and because of that, um, I can tend to reject fun, and I reject
yeah,
the vibe. I guess like like within the vibe, it's more specifically like I'm rejecting um I guess in a way it's like slowing down in terms of your goals because um I feel like sometimes people want to just kind of have fun and like go to the movies or have the barbecue that Dave and Shannon kind of use that as an example for fours. Like they're always going to the barbecues
yeah,
and just kind of gathering together, and they kind of relate fours with EJs too. So
yeah,
they give all their time to everybody else. That's one way to put
yeah.
it. So are you seeing like, do you feel like when people ask for your time for like for the barbecue or anything like that,
Yeah.
do you feel like how exactly do you feel about
Um, I think viscerally, I start to think, God, what a waste of time. That sounds so
that?
bad. I hate it. I hate that that is what my first initial thought is. But yeah, I think this is such a waste of time. I get
Whose idea
invitations all
was
the
this?
time. Yeah, I get friends like because I've got friends who like go out literally every Saturday drinking, partying. And that was the same when I was I've always said I was just not a good teenager. I didn't go to parties. I didn't stay
Mm,
out late.
mm,
I didn't do all of those things that you're supposed to do as a teenager and just like have fun and live a messy life. No, I was at home reading and you know just doing stuff that a 40-year-old would be doing basically. Because I've just always never been a going out for the sake of it kind of person. It just seems like such a massive waste of time. I feel like I should. Again, this is just viscerally what in my head what I'm thinking. It just my instinct is this is a waste of time because I could be using that time to do something that's going to further me in some way.
I'm curious, do you relate to like living as if like you've already died before? I don't know this because I have Savior NF sleep, so I kind of do this game in my head, but like I feel like I'm always trying to optimize the high score, like I guess like a high score that I'm going to achieve through this lifetime. in terms of the
Mm.
things I'm literally gonna achieve. Like I'm always thinking in my head, like, okay, well, I have to be more like efficient with um like how I appreciate things. Um, because if I'm not efficient in how I appreciate things, then I'm not gonna be able to achieve as much in this lifetime. Like, do you kind of relate to that?
I can't say that I do actually. Can you expand a little bit more about maybe an example of like what you mean?
Okay, so like for example, there's like a routine I have that I use for like to treat a medical condition that I have, but like I have to go walking every single day
Hmm.
for at least an hour each time.
Hmm.
And and obviously I'm going to be going out in the sun a lot because of that. And so I've gotten
Yeah.
to a point where like I don't want to get fucking skin cancer or anything like that. So I literally bring an umbrella with me to go walking in the sun. I live in Miami, so it's very hot over here. There's a lot of
Yeah.
uh, um, UV rays coming from the sun because we're close to
Yeah.
the equator. And so, yeah, I go that far to be able to keep up my routine because I feel like if I don't appreciate the fact that I can think for myself, the fact that I can realize, this is going to affect me in the future if I keep walking in the sun like this every single day, twice a day, it's eventually going to catch up and I'm going to get some kind of problem from that. So I'm gonna like appreciate the fact that I can think of that and just fucking go with the umbrella, and I don't care what people think, So I don't know
Yeah.
if you're like that.
Um, I don't know if it's the same thing, but I do have something like that I do. So I have diabetes in my family, type 2 diabetes. So my granddad was diabetic, my dad is diabetic, my uncle's like we've got diabetes in my family. So there's a really high chance that I'm going to get diabetes. And the second that I learned that, I stopped eating sugar years ago. And I love like I'm such a sweet tooth. I love stuff like that, but I'm just very conscious of it's going to catch up to me. Why
Hmm.
give it a chance? You know, at some
Yeah,
point. So I don't know if that's what you mean. That's the
yeah.
closest example I can think of to maybe what you're saying. But I
No,
didn't
absolutely.
think
That
about it.
fits. That actually fits very well, because it's also a health example. And yeah, I feel like, some people, they like, even though they hear those types of things. I mean, I'll give you an
Mm.
example. One time I had a psychology teacher in high school, and he was saying, like, he was trying to argue with us. I mean, I say argue, but he was telling us like, oh, you don't have to exercise, like you don't have to be that person that goes to the gym because technically it
Right.
doesn't increase your lifespan. So he was like making an argument for you shouldn't like care about exercising, and that it's worth it to have your extra slice of cake because it makes your life like it feels better, right? And technically you're not actually like lowering your lifespan by that. So I was
Yeah.
thinking in my head I'm like, what the fuck are you saying? Like
Right.
that doesn't sound right. Like that doesn't even like sensorily make sense. So like I don't care if maybe like he read one statistic that suggested that. That's one
Yeah.
one statistic. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense, and so I don't believe it. um, and so like, yeah, I feel like, yeah, as a number one, we're like very serious about consequences, right? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I will say is that the second somebody tells me that something about the way that I'm living my life is going to affect me in such a way that I'm no longer efficient in the future, like I'm already working on that thing to kind of nip it in the bud. Like that's one thing that I
Hmm.
will say. Like you don't need to convince me twice that I need. Like if you're telling me that if I have to exercise for me to not be slow, and you don't have to tell me twice. Like I will do that because I know that if I'm slow and I've got health complications, that's going to get in the way of me actually like achieving stuff. So you don't need to convince me.
So this is where it's very like contradictory to be SCFI and a number one because that's the function combination people think of as the people that like to party
Yeah,
and maybe try drugs, maybe do drugs, like actually do them and stuff. And like
yeah,
like all of that kind of stuff. And like it feels like we're very like we use SCNFI to be healthy or to be I feel like I'm projecting when I say that because that's kind of like my focus, but um, it's just a different um, goal with those functions, I
yeah,
think, right?
yeah. I mean, which is probably another reason why I didn't see an EP when I was self-typing before I got my 512. I don't know if you know that I was vehemently that I was an IJ
Hmm.
because I'm quite serious about these kinds of things. So it just never occurred to me that I was an EP because I didn't see that party type fun loose. I'm pretty what Shan said about like needing to lighten up. I
Hmm.
definitely could use some lightening up. So I just yeah
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
It's funny you were saying how somebody was like teasing you about doing things like an older person does. Because I had an ex-girlfriend, she would always call me an old man. And, and
Yeah.
then and then I started looking back recently. I'm like, I think she's either a three or a four. She's not
Mm.
like up there on the social hierarchy. So like she could tell the difference. Like she was like able, and she was actually a consume last ENTJ.
Yeah.
So she was like supposed to be the serious, businessy person. Not that I'm like businessy, but there's a seriousness to like me trying to go after things. Um, and so yeah, I always noticed that like we were opposite in that sense, and I could not explain it
Yeah.
from the type. Yeah.
That makes sense. Which is why I love the code because it's so things that should be the way that they should be are just sometimes not because of all of like when you add all of the math up and stuff like that, it just you get surprised.
Yeah. Well, speaking of surprises, so I'm reading a comment with a question. I'm trying to. Okay. Let's see. Are you considering going after a goal? Okay. So
Oh,
where
I'm not
does
even seeing the
where
comment.
does oh there should be like a comments tab. You can
Oh
see
yes, I can see
comments.
it now. Yes.
Yeah. So Lake is S lines. That's Lake.
Okay.
All
I
right.
like.
So she was saying, how do you reconcile? I'm just going to read the comment because I cannot make this into a unique question. But how do you reconcile? She's asking both of us. How do we both reconcile being SCFI and anti-fun? Let's start there.
I love that. I love the word anti fun because my brother is always saying that I need to have fun. So I love it. Yeah. So sorry, back to your question. How do you reconcile being SE? Okay. How do I reconcile it? I guess because SCFI is my savior lead function, I can have fun if I want to. So I take it for granted that fun I can always have fun if I want to. You know, it's not I don't it's not that I don't know how to have fun. I just choose not to sometimes because there is a reason or a something. There's a purpose. There's a reason. It would be in my best interest to not do that. So I guess being lead SF, I take it for granted that if I wanted to have fun, I could. Because I don't think it would be very difficult for me if I wanted to go out and and let loose. I guess, for lack of a better term. I can have fun. I just just
No,
don't.
I hear you. I'm curious, like, I don't know. Do you have like swings with it? Like, because you know how to and you can. And technically, the social needs, we all have all of them. It's just that we
Mm,
achieve them in like we're very particular about the order that we do it, but we still
mm.
needs, the friends and the fun. So, do you have like swings where you try to have all the fun that you haven't let yourself have in the last year, like all at once or within a week or something like that?
Um, maybe not swings, but I notice patterns. I tend to have more fun in the summer. In the winter, I tend to hibernate. So in the summer, that's when I'll be doing a lot more stuff. That's when I'll be going out more with friends and going on holidays and eating too much and binge watching and all of these things. So I feel like just where the sun is, because I love the sun. So where the sun is very like hitting me, and I'm getting all of that melanin. Um, it's just I'm more likely to be in a fun state than in the winter where it's cold and I just want to be indoors and hibernate and be by the fireplace and just chilling. So I feel like it's more of a pattern that I notice that I get myself in. I didn't realize I was doing that until I started to track it, but actually looking back, I realized that I tend to be more outgoing and more fun in the summer.
Hmm. In the summer. That's interesting. I would say like I'm a little similar in the sense that um yeah, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because at least for us here in the United States, we have like a long summer vacation and the rest of the year we're always in school.
Mm.
So like whenever it was summer vacation, I would kind of take advantage, and that ended up being when I would swing into the friends. And so that's kind of conserved, I want to say. Nowadays, because I am 26, I've been out of, you know, high school for, I guess, 8 years. Nowadays, I notice a pattern where around April, May, I feel like having fun. And then in the summer, I'm like, okay, I'm a little scared now. I don't want to keep doing
Yeah.
that. And so I end up being an old man again in June and July, and I kind of like try to balance it in those months because I know like okay, well now I'm giving myself like direct permission to have fun because it is summer. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm like trying to restrain already because I don't want this to be like a big thing.
Yeah. Actually, now that you mention that, actually, it might be a swing for me then, because as you said, um, I've noticed in the last couple, like this since maybe May, I've been having too much fun, and now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I need to chill now. Like, I need to start reining this in. I need to start, getting getting my shit together, and because I notice it as well. Like, I only noticed that pattern when I started tracking my finances. And I
Hmm.
realized, hang on a minute, I spend a lot more money in the summer. Like, what's going on in the summer? And then I realized, okay, I'm doing a little bit too much more consume. But it's like, and it's and I, tracking my finances now, I'm realizing, okay, it's been the same this year. That's been the pattern that I'm noticing. But now I'm in a place where I'm realizing, okay, I need to start reining it, and I'm starting to consciously try to rein in the fun and prepare for the winter hibernation because I've been having too
Yeah,
much fun.
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, hmm. Let me see. So, hmm. Okay. All right. Second question that she had said. Okay. Are you okay? Um, do you consider going after your goals something that you do for fun?
Yes.
Explain, please.
Um, I feel like since I could always remember, self improvement has always been the one thing that is in my head,
Hmm.
and I get a high off of achievement, off of achieving something, and
Hmm.
it doesn't even have to be like a. I'm not talking about big, massive. Oh, I just made £1 million or whatever. I'm just talking about
Right.
just even in the little everyday things. I get such a high when I can tick something off and I can be like, okay, I did this. So I guess in that sense, for me, yeah, it is fun, improving, doing better, and being better than I was yesterday in some way, whether it's something small. just celebrating a win or an achievement is just it gives me such a high. It's such a rush. So in that sense, I would say, yeah, I do it for fun, and I enjoy it. Like I genuinely enjoy all of this self improvement stuff. It's all I know how to do.
Hmm. Interesting. So I'm guessing that's probably part of what made you see yourself as an IJ. It's the fact that I guess you're like you're just very focused on achievements, which is it sounds like an I, right?
Yeah. Well, they do say because the number one is like the sleep, right? It's a sleep animal,
Hmm.
so it's like
Hmm.
the yeah, the ON, yeah.
I was talking to Manley about this because he related as well. Like he sees himself constantly thinking about some kind of vision that he wants to achieve, and that's just kind of like what he's actually always thinking about. And so, and if you look at what he does in his life, like obviously he is like the business that he has is it's going towards that vision already. So it's like it's not like he's not doing things that relate to his NI, right? But then when we look at the actual definition of NI, there ends up being a, I guess like a semi overlap
Mhm.
between NI and then what Flex is doing. So they're
Mhm.
different, but they overlap a little bit,
Mhm.
um, because by definition, right? So then that means that if you're lead Flex as somebody that's lead SE, you're going to look a little bit or sound like you're talking about living a life that's similar to somebody that's like lead sleep, let's say.
Mhm.
So, um, but then like when your brain is using the tool, like the cards of NI, that's where the demon state comes out.
Yeah.
Um, although I would be curious to imagine if it's possible that it activates a little bit of a savior state because maybe the flex draws from the card of NI
Mhm.
itself, maybe. Just
Mhm.
guessing.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's what I wondered,
Mhm.
but we don't know yet. So,
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, which is why I had a hard time with the social type thing because there was a lot of overlap. I was really having a hard time figuring out the parameters between 512 and social types because they're using a lot of the language that they teach in the 512 to help us to understand the parameters with the social types. So I honestly, yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions, and that's why it all confused me because I was like, it's basically the same thing. Because I was really
hmm.
struggling to see where 512 starts and social type ends, and vice versa.
Yes. It's interesting because I've been trying to correlate it with the Enneagram. So there's
Mm,
an Enneagram system that a lot of people from OPS have been going to,
mm,
and their name is Enneagram or Universe. So I just call it EU for short.
mm-hmm,
Um, and they have been called the OPS of Enneagram. So they basically take an approach that's objective, similar to OPS, but they're just
yeah,
doing it with Enneagram. And it's very easy to see the Enneagram types. From
yeah,
what I've seen and what a lot of people are saying, it's very easy to see it. Like it seems to
mm-hmm,
be like a legit pattern. Like this is happening. Like there are more patterns than just what OPS is seeing. Um,
mm,
but what's interesting is even if you are the same 512 type, you can have a different Enneagram type than your twin. And
okay,
even if you are both the same 512 type and the same social type, you can still have differences in the Enneagram, but it's more likely that they'll be similar.
oh, okay.
You see, so
So
like
there's
there's
something in that,
still, yeah, there's
yeah,
something like we are like there's a lot of patterns, and there's a likelihood that things will overlap, and often they will, but there's always going to be differences. So yeah, I mean it's just
yeah, of
fucking
course,
oh
yeah,
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 yeah.
exactly. We'll see.
We will see with time, but at
We'll
least, you know,
see.
what's good to, I guess, give this a little bit of an NI here. What is good about it is we are, you know, decently able to see a good amount of differences, and that's good progress, right? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, totally.
Um, to kind of quickly answer Blake's question myself, because she was asking both of us. Yes, I also see goals as fun. Um, they're fun. Like I'm constantly going after them. I do have sleep second.
Mhm.
Um, so by default, I'm like constantly using routines to achieve things.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. Of course.
yeah, we used to be type twins,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
like
And you weren't
after
seeing it.
I was not seeing it because I mean I did have like a lot of the NF going on,
Yeah.
and I had like just gone through a lot of trauma in my life, so that like kind of forced me as well to lean on my NF to get through that with
Yeah.
processing. And so I was like, you know, this is a little bit like I can see the lead. I see that wasn't hard, but I actually guessed myself as lead. I thought I was SETI, consume sleep play blast.
Ah.
So I thought I was like feminine T. I thought I had masculine FE. Which looking back now, it kind of makes sense. Being number one with masculine FI can, like, if you don't know the terms perfectly, you may think that's masculine FE at certain points
Mm.
because of the competitiveness.
Yeah.
Um, obviously, I'm not FE in OPS terms, but you know what I mean. So yeah. Anyways, yeah. Sleep cycle makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, so what is your FI landing on as fun? Like, so what is fun to you? Even though you are friends last, is there like a small box or anything like that? And what is inside the box?
Yeah. So I guess self improvement stuff is definitely. I do this stuff for fun. So self improvement stuff is fun for me. I also like watching movies. That's fun for me. So I love staying at home and um, watching movies, TV shows, that kind of thing. Um, Traveling. I love traveling. That's fun for me. And just hanging around with like my family and my friends. Like that's just yeah. That's I feel like that's all I need in life. Is just my family, my friends, and just some time for me to be at home watching the movies and just doing some like growth work and stuff. Like that's just me happy.
Interesting.
Mm.
So I'm curious, do you have like goals surrounding like implementing more of that into your life?
Yeah. Um, I I break my main goals. There's like six main categories that I'm working on, like actively, in terms of goals. So that'll be my relationships with other people. That will be my work. That will be like my home life. So just keeping things at home, nice and tidy. My health, which is like diet, exercise, my finances.
All right, you have frozen.
Hello.
Yes, you're back.
I'm not sure what happened. I think I don't know. Is it my signal?
It froze for a moment. Maybe it's your signal, but we'll see if it happens again.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how much of that you heard, but I was pretty much done anyway.
Okay, so you're saying that you do want to implement more of it into your life?
Yeah, like I am always actively thinking about how I can like foster better relationships in my life. Maybe that's just me, peacocking as like friends last, but I do care about my relationship. So
Hmm.
definitely, I take an active approach to trying to better my relationships with other people.
Okay,
I would say. Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm. Do you think that your friends can tell that you have friends last? Like, is it like interfering with your friendships at all?
Sorry, can you say that again? It froze, so I missed your question.
So I said, do you think your friends can tell that you have friends last? Like, is it interfering with your friendships?
I don't know, because if they can, nobody's telling me. But
Hmm.
when I know that I must be difficult. Like I know because everybody's difficult, right? Everybody's difficult in their own way. So I definitely know that I'm difficult. But I feel like maybe where I have friends in my life um who aren't maybe number one, who are more like on the lower side of the social needs, that kind of stuff is okay for them, right? It's okay to just because they just want to hang out, maybe. So like um when somebody is being difficult, I feel like those kinds of things are easier for people who are maybe number fours, for example, to let slide and just be okay. Whereas with me, it's kind of a big deal. Not that it's like it gets in the way of our relationship, but it's just something that I want to address and be like, okay, this is a problem. So I need to improve on this because I'm difficult in this area. You need to improve on this because you're difficult in this area. So where I would be someone who would bring that kind of stuff up, I feel like if I have friends around me who aren't maybe social type number one and maybe who aren't thinking in that way, I feel like I could be being very difficult and just being just awful to be around, but nobody's saying anything. But now that I have that, you know, but now that I have that
Nobody's saying
idea,
anything.
yeah, nobody's saying anything. Everyone's just letting me get away with just being a bitch. And I'm just like, I want people to tell me. I cannot stress this enough. If I am being difficult, please tell me so that I can work on it. But I
This
feel
is so
like
familiar.
but I feel like where people don't think that way, so I could just be walking around here ruining people's lives and not realizing it, and it's a horrible feeling. So please tell me,
Oh
whoever's
man.
watching, if I have been awful, please do not hesitate to tell me.
You can say it right now. You can leave a comment if you need to.
Yes, please tell me. Give me all of the negative feedback that you can think of. I will work on it.
Oh my God. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I feel like the worst thing you could do for me is just let me carry on thinking that I'm doing something right when I'm not, because I feel like that doesn't help me. I'm just gonna, that just keeps me stuck. Like I would rather somebody tell me and then um, just tell me and then I can work on it, and because but not telling me is going to keep me stuck, and that's just the
Mm,
worst thing that somebody could do
yeah.
just to make me happy. That's not gonna make me happy.
No, I get you. I've thought like I've said similar things, and so I wonder if like how much of that is from the blast last, and how much of it is it from friends last? Because part of friends is being open to learning from other people, receiving criticisms and stuff like that. And so like being a number one, we can be a little more sensitive to criticism, like more sensitive to the DE.
one Hundred
Um,
percent.
even though like obviously friends and DE are different, but like I was saying about the NI and the flex, there is an overlap. And
Mm-hmm.
so it can feel like being an IP and an EP and Blast Last at the same time. So how much do you think is from the Blast Last and how much is from the Friends Last, do you think?
Yeah, maybe. Because I can see how people would want to tiptoe around me because I'm very sensitive to like I can see that being a thing. Like I am sensitive to criticism. It does, it's like shooting an arrow in my heart, like being criticized. So I can see how people might then develop a fear of upsetting me, and so start to
Hmm.
tiptoe around me. But it's one of those things where yes, I will be I might not respond well or react well in the moment. I might throw a fit about it. I'm not going to go quietly, but eventually I will come around. And once my feelings are all sorted, and my ego has been soothed or whatever, I will come around and then I will do the thing that I need to do in order to do better. So I would say, just like don't be put off if you make a criticism and you don't get a nice response straight away. It won't last, and I will come back eventually and correct myself in a better manner.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like it's not your intention to be so sensitive about it because I guess because you are a double decider, um, like you're not meaning to make it such a big deal, but because of the friends less, maybe it can be a little more serious than you're saying it is. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm,
because I do relate as well. I feel like sometimes, um, I feel like sometimes, at least in my case, as a number one ESFP, when other people make mistakes, I feel like um, I guess I end up more upset about the fact that their mistakes are going to lead to me making mistakes. And
mm,
that's a no-no. Like that's a problem.
okay.
Like if you're messing up, you're the one not communicating. You're the one, not telling me what I need to know to be perfect, so that you don't say anything about me. Then I'm
Mm,
upset. I'm upset with you. It's like one of those
mm,
things. Like saying it out loud, obviously I can hear how bad that sounds. Like I can immediately see what the problem is. It's just that like naturally that's my, that's kind of my loop. Um,
right.
so like, um, yeah, but I can definitely tell that like a lot of the problem is that like sometimes because we have NI last and last last, especially like feminine TE, so we are kind of like waiting for something to happen, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Because of that, um, sometimes the issue is that we are not understanding that when other people make mistakes, it's okay. Like, we don't need to be so hard on them. We don't need to expect that. Okay, so like I'll say it this way. So like when somebody else makes a mistake, that's an opportunity for both of us to learn.
Mhm.
I feel like as
Mm,
as a savior
I love that.
FI,
Yeah,
we kind of get upset, instead
yeah,
of using that opportunity to do TE and make both of us benefit from it.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, I love
to
that. Yeah,
to be more receptive, to communicate as I'm telling them, like as I'm criticizing them to communicate. I should be using that opportunity to openly communicate
yeah,
and use that as um just an additional part of the formula that leads to the success instead of thinking
yeah.
it ends there, right? So
Mm, yeah, 100%. Like, because sometimes it has to start with us. And sometimes it's not even the person who is whose fault it is, not fault, but the person who's maybe had some like learning to do or whatever. But sometimes, what you're saying is that sometimes we can take that opportunity to get the ball rolling, because we will benefit from that as well. Um,
hmm
yeah, I love that. That's definitely something that I'm going to think about and take on board.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
One thing that I am learning in terms of like friends last,
hmm
what I was saying earlier about if I am, causing damage and harm and not knowing it because people aren't telling me, I'm trying to put myself in this. I'm trying to think about all of the ways in which a number one could be potentially damaging to the people around them. One
hmm
thing that I think I unconsciously do is where I'm so hard on myself and I put a lot of pressure on myself. Every little mistake, everything that I do wrong, like I really take it seriously. I really think about it. And so I think unconsciously I do that to other people is that I pick on little things maybe that other people are doing wrong with the intention of it's coming from a place of love. It's coming from, I want to point this out to you, not so I can make you feel bad, but because in my head, me pointing out to you is going to help you do better. But that's coming from a place of love. But I think where in my head, that is how I would feel loved, where somebody else who maybe doesn't think like that, that could be received as you're not good enough, you're always doing something wrong, you're bad, there's something wrong with you kind of thing. So I think unconsciously, where I am trying to put pressure on myself to improve, to do better out of love, because I know that in the long run it's going to help me, it's going to be beneficial for me, and I'm unconsciously maybe projecting that onto other people. Whereas I think where people don't maybe think the same, the way that I or see it the same, they're getting a different message from that, and that's damaging. So I feel like people around me could potentially feel like I could potentially feel very low in themselves or feel bad about themselves around me, and I think that's one of the ways that I think nobody's told me, but I think is how I'm maybe being damaging to other people.
Nobody's told you, right?
Yeah, nobody's told me, but I can imagine.
I'm trying to understand where that comes from because I keep hearing it, and it's definitely like a state, like a demon state. Um, but like it sounds like
Right,
demon, like OE, but maybe socially, like it's like play last
right,
socially.
right.
Yeah. Hmm.
So what do you mean by that?
So like how we kind of, because we have flex first, we can have like a pseudo NI savior state from it. So
Mm,
then having friends last, there's like a pseudo play last demon state.
right, right. Okay, yeah, yeah. So what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, so interesting. Hmm. Okay, there was a question I had in my head. Well,
I
on
feel
the
like I should be
topic
coming
of
up with
like,
questions.
yeah, I wish our viewers were a little more enthusiastic and would give us
Oh,
some
do we have
negative
viewers?
criticisms or or tell us things
I
we don't know about.
I didn't even know we had viewers. I can't see.
We have four viewers.
Oh, okay. Hi, for viewers. I don't know who it is, but hello.
Only one has made themselves known, that is Lake.
Oh, okay. Thank you for
Yeah.
engaging, Lake.
So if anybody else wants to join that train and make yourself known, ask a question, just say hi, anything.
Yes,
Um, Tell us things we don't know. We would greatly
yes.
appreciate
I'm wide open, so take a shot.
it. Yeah, so okay, so like other topics on one, like I mean the specialized third, I mean I was gonna save this for later, but might as well just dig into it now. But the
Mhm,
specialized third, I've had this theory, I did mention it to you in a post, I tagged you and you saw what I said. I was saying that my theory is just an idea, which I've been talking about to people that I've been interviewing. I ask them this question every time, and they do seem to see it. So maybe, maybe I wonder if you will see it here now. But having like okay, doing your third social need um, would like unlock success in your first one, right? That's basically the theory, the overview of it. So like having specialized third as a number one, you stop like taking all these different responsibilities, and instead you narrow down on like what's like okay, so like let me say it this way. Having flex at the top, you're gonna have multiple things that you can flex, and because there's multiple strengths that you can use like in like a present moment, like let's say you're in a new job and you see different opportunities in different places that you can flex within the same job. um, Thinking like that is more flex with responsibility. right? Because you're
Mm,
thinking about like different ways you can add more things onto your load and impress people and
mm,
achieve more flex in total through that, through the quantity.
yeah.
Um, but there's the other mindset where you can think a little more specialized, where you think about, okay, well, where's the one place that I'm really, really, dedicated to because it's my strongest thing, that I can just like go at that thing, um,
Mm,
instead of picking up everything with me as you go to the top of the mountain, for example.
yeah.
So that would be more specialized, and I think that that's what would achieve success for a number one. But not that being like focused on responsibility as a one is a bad thing. I just think that they would look more like a very serious number two, because their standards are so high, but they're doing the job of responsibility, so it looks like a very serious number two that is
Yeah.
very friendly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like the number three should get all the credit, honestly. They should be the ones at the top because I feel like where you have that specialized and that friend, sorry, the flex, you actually have something to flex. Um, because you've actually taken the time to really, really, really make sure that this thing is, is great, is amazing. So I feel like, I mean, not saying that obviously the number ones that they can't flex, but I feel like it's a lot more meaningful having something that you've invested time into and invested skills into in the long term rather than lots of little things that you started but not really been able to kind of fully go all the way with. Um, and I've recently just realized how beneficial that is. I mean, I've recently decided that I'm going to try and be a little bit more specialized in my therapy field. So I work as a CBT therapist, and I'm fortunate enough to have a supervisor who I think is a specialist. And the way that he speaks about the craft and the job, it's just things that I would not have thought about even paying attention to detail on. But I feel like where I am learning from him, I am going further in my career, learning from him and learning in the way that he cares about the process of the job, the details of the job, every single thing. I feel like learning under him, I am going to go so much further than I would if I was to learn from maybe a number one who's doing the same job, just because of the attention to detail that he's giving it. Um, and so I feel like yes, for me, I feel like Specialized have the number threes. They actually have something to flex about because this is quality stuff that they're producing rather than lots of little jobs that you've picked up, maybe things that you've even dropped along the way. Um, it's that idea of do one thing and do it really well rather than trying to overstretch yourself, doing too much and not being able to give it, full attention. Um, but I feel like where the number threes are really focused on this one area, and obviously there is the drawbacks to that, obviously not taking responsibility for things outside of your lane. But I feel like they actually have things to flex about because of the time and the quality and the depth that they go into the craft um, that they're working
Hmm.
in.
I see what you mean. I also agree. I think the threes in general are, like specialized lead and then flex. Like that makes more sense in terms of like having the credit, like you said. So yeah, I definitely agree. Um, hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's funny because like doing more specialized seems to help us achieve our success, but like doing more friends doesn't necessarily because it cancels out the flex.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess like Shannon was saying in the social hierarchy one video that she did in her deep dive series, she was saying that yeah, you don't want to fuck up the last one, but that's kind of all she said at the end. She said just don't fuck it up. So I'm kind of like trying to deny it because she wasn't specific on what does that mean, but I think what she means is um yeah, just have enough ability to connect with people that you can build a network. Because if you're
Yeah.
just, your own little flex monster, like a Hulk, if you're like a little Hulk, but all by yourself, you don't necessarily have the networking establishment to do,
Yeah.
like, to have the opportunities available that let you be where you want to be.
Yeah.
Um, so like, and then like looking at like some other number ones like Mr. Beast's, like he would meet up with his friends at like a table and they would just talk about their YouTube businesses and stuff like that. And so, but that's kind of like transactional, like it's kind of like you're there for a purpose, and the purpose
Yeah.
is, you know, to build up part of your flex. Um,
Yeah.
so I guess that would be an example of just not fucking it up, but not being totally focused on it either, right? How do you
Yeah.
feel about that?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm now discovering the power and the impact on of networking on my ability to achieve. It's
Hmm.
like it's that saying, I love the saying. If you want to go fast, do it alone, but if you want to go far, do it with other people. And I feel
Hmm.
like just I'm now discovering the meaning behind that, and I can definitely see that. I feel like the things, because I've been taking more of an active role in trying to network, in trying to reach out to more therapists and build my skills in that way by connecting. And honestly, I can say that I it takes a lot of work for me to do that. It takes a lot of work for me to reach out, build relationships, hold on to relationships, outside of who's in my circle, outside of and also being black first. But it takes a lot out of me. But I feel like the reward is tenfold. Like what I get from connecting, I learn so much more. You know, there's things that I wouldn't think about if I was thinking about it on my own in the corner of my room doing my own thing. But being able to speak with other people and learning from them, I learned so much more. I have more opportunities. But the other thing as well is that the things that I find difficult, I can always start to outsource these things that I feel like I've been putting pressure on myself to take responsibility for to do, but I'm struggling to do it because I've got all of these other things to think about, and now I'm juggling too many balls in the air and I can't do anything. It's like now I can actually leverage the connections that I'm making with other people to be able to help me to do those things. And it feels icky. It feels like, oh, I don't want to rely on other people because what happens when they're not there? But at the same time, I feel like coming out of a scarcity mindset and recognizing it as like it's not the case that I have to hold on to this person, just the idea of networking. So even if that relationship with that one person fails and I still need that job to be outsourced, I can always build a new relationship with somebody else. I can always reach out and connect with more people. But I feel like where that scarcity mindset that was there was like I have to develop deep, meaningful relationship with every single person, and so I don't want to do that because it's too time consuming. That's kind of a scarcity mindset. But now it's like recognizing that I can always build new connections, and that's never going away. So if there are things that I still need to like outsource in the long term, if I build that skill of being able to outsource, even if this block fails with this one person, I can always I can always turn to a new relationship or a new relationship with somebody else. If any of that is making sense. So just this long-winded thing. I'm just saying I'm definitely seeing the value now of networking and not fucking up the friends thing. I feel like I'm going further in my career now because I'm starting to network and not trying to do everything by myself.
I see. Hmm. Interesting. So usually my interviews go to about 2 hours, but I realized I didn't really ask you, so I don't want to like end up taking too much of your time because I know it's kind of late over there. So if you can't do it, I understand, but a lot of my other ones are too. So do you want to do that or not?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that.
Okay. All right. Okay. So something else I wanted to touch on. I'm trying to like pull out like fun interesting questions because we are friends last, and I did this with Manly. We kind of like swung into the friend state a little bit,
Yeah.
um, but it's really hard for me to do that. It's very hard for me to like to act more like because I'm Savior SF. Like in my vocabulary, I do sound like fun, or like I know what fun is. But like my actual demeanor, like switching into like that true friend state doesn't really happen very often.
mm, mm.
Um, it's a totally different vibe. Anyways, what I was gonna ask you was, do you see yourself flexing with SF, or because those are your saviors? Like, are you flexing your saviors? Do you see yourself flexing your demons? Is flexing like a peacocking thing where you're flexing like your growth, or like how are you seeing flexing like that with the temperament?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Um, I feel like if you visit my Instagram page, it's like a shrine of me.
Mm,
It's just like pictures of myself doing SFing all the time and just having a good time. So I feel like I in volumes I flex the SF, but occasionally you will see me flexing um like my last animal a little bit. Um, so I still do a little bit of both. I still flex, but I think in volumes I flex more the SF. And I was
mm,
speaking about this with my ISTP friend, and he was we were talking about what we flex, and with him, but he's more of a silent flex. With him, he's more like a he flex how good he's able to do things and how efficient, effective he is in the real world. You know, being ICP. Whereas me, my flex is the face value. You know, that's what I'm flexing. I'm flexing what you see.
is he
Um,
MF?
no, double feminine.
Ah, because I was gonna say maybe I it could be the visual thing, like being visual for you, but
Mm.
hmm, okay,
Mm.
interesting. But also your
Why are you
lead
flexing
SC.
both?
Me, I feel like I try to do like the visual flex. I try to. Um, I don't know if you would even call it visual flex because I feel like with SC there's an overlap where you're just kind of like making sure that you look like your sensory is sharp, you know? Um, because that's a general, lead SE thing, like to be aware of that, especially lead SF.
Yeah.
But I feel like what I flex is more so like I almost feel like I try to flex the ST. Honestly,
Okay.
I try to present myself as like smart through ST and NT and a little bit of NF. Not very
Right.
much with SF at all. Like I can obviously, lead SF, but like I just I learned that a little bit later. I actually used to dress very bad, very bad. I used to dress like everything was not like matching at all in any sort of way. Um, like I would just literally pick a pants and a shirt and a shoes, and that's it. I didn't think at all about it. And then I had a girlfriend in college, and she taught me color theory. And she's like, okay, look, you got to use color theory. You got to make sure that the colors are in the same family, and if they're not in the same family, they have to be complementary. And you got to make sure everything, like every single part of your clothes, your outfit, everything you have, um, fits together. Um, And so I'm like, okay, damn, okay, like I'll try, like let's see. And so after that, then that just kind of stuck. Like that's my only skill, honestly. I just apply that with everything because I don't use Flex to figure out fashion. That's not what my Flex is. So
Hmm.
how about you? Like did that come later, or were you always like into the SF visual thing?
Yeah, no, I had no sense of style when I was younger. I think it's only been in the last couple of years where I've been more attentive about my style, my fashion, the way that I look. I feel like where I'm now leaning more into blast, I feel like now I'm a little bit more into my looks. Whereas before, being energy dumb, like I just enjoyed being in PJs and whatever's comfortable, like comfort over look. It's still that way now, but I feel like I'm a little bit more intentional about what I look like when I step outside of the house and what other
Hmm.
people see. Whereas when I was
Yeah.
younger, and even like up until very recently, up until maybe I was like early to mid 20s, um, I just yeah I would I didn't care. I was too
Yeah.
tired. I was too tired to care about what I look like. I just
Hmm.
wanted to be in bed.
Hmm. Interesting. I see. So what about the other temperaments? Like, do you see yourself flexing with NF, for example? Like, are you flexing like
No.
how you understand emotions or anything like that?
Oh, yes. I guess so. Yes. Now that you've mentioned that. Um, yes, especially now that I'm more intentional about my line of work as well. I guess yeah, I have to be all about I understand emotions and I'm very in touch with, and very empathetic and all that stuff. So you have to really just kind of like um because for my line of work I have to like soft skills. I have to learn these soft skills. So I would say now that I'm a little bit more intentional with my work, yes, I'm flexing that side of me a little bit more. I would say when I was younger, I used to flex the NT a little bit more. I thought I was a nerd. And I was, just telling anybody who will listen that I'm such a nerd and I'm so smart and all these things, just peacocking. So I would flex that more when I was young.
Hmm. Yeah.
Whereas now I feel like I flex more the SS and the NF
Hmm.
more now.
Interesting. And how about the ST?
Um, I feel like I don't really see that as much. That I don't know. That one is a little bit harder for me to see. If I am doing it, I don't realize I'm not catching it as
I'll
much
give
as
you an
I can catch it with the other
example.
thing.
I'll give you an example. Like, occasionally my mom and I will have a problem, like some kind of health problem, and we'll have to do like
Mm.
research, to figure out, what is the best thing to do about that health problem. And I'll do research, and when I'm like explaining to her like everything I learned, and I have to like ST, I like make it work. Like, this is the sensory, this is what works, this is why it works. Um, these are the reasons, like all of that, and this is what that doctor said, this is what the other doctor said, and this is what this research said, and this is what another research said. Like that whole thing, like I try to like present it like solid, and sound like, it just feels like a flex. I don't know how else to say it. It's just like it's flexing your articulation. I guess that would be a way to say it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I guess maybe I'll do that with my work as well. Um. Yeah, because when I'm talking and I have to like teach, I suppose, or give information about what I'm doing, I suppose that yeah, I am a little bit more serious about the way that I articulate myself and the things that I say. But I do notice that ST for me comes up a lot more when I'm arguing. I tend to use ST as a weapon when I'm arguing, and
Mm,
um, I notice that, like I see that in myself. Just I
yeah.
become very I become like blockhead when I'm arguing. I tend to flex that more. But like,
Mhm.
I told you this is exactly what it says, that kind of stuff. Um, so I see the flex coming up with ST when I'm arguing. I tend to turn to ST as a tool, as a weapon to be able to win arguments.
Mhm.
Not proud of it, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, considering your ST is double feminine,
Mm,
um, it's interesting that you're able, because like they do say that when we have fights, we use our saviors
mm,
and our masculine functions. Um,
mm,
so I guess in your case, it would be like your SF, your ST, and your masculine and I, and
mm,
possibly the sleep because it's double masculine.
mm,
Uh,
mm.
do you think you don't use blasts when you fight?
And if I do, I'm not seeing it. I,
Mm,
I, I I find it very hard to blast when I'm arguing because I'm so triggered in the
hmm.
moment that I find it hard to even articulate what I want to say. And it's usually
Yeah.
those situations where I think about the best thing for me to say, like days after the argument has already been done. So I actually find it very triggering to I can't argue by blasting. Like I just I'm too
It's
triggered.
funny. Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's funny though, in my case, like, I guess because I'm consumed sleep, I don't know if that's even why, but when I get triggered as I'm arguing, I just push harder. Uh, I just push harder. Like I try to I try to make myself. It feels like that there's like a magnetism in my body that's trying to make me not be a thinker for that moment.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm not a thinker, but you know what I mean. Like it's even more so making me want to react emotionally instead of thinkerly. And so
yeah,
I like pressure myself to be more thinker when it's going against it.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but like I understand that like it's stupid to do that because um, like sometimes I'll say stuff that's not thinkery because I am demon TE and I'm triggered. Um, but I'm like convinced that I'm like forcing myself to be STNT when I'm not.
mm.
Um, so I have like I go in the other direction. Yeah. Hmm. I'm also
Yeah.
curious about your masculine sleep.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
let's see. Um, when you were pushing, um, in it, I say fighting. Let's not use that word, I guess, because maybe it sounds like something it's not. But like, whenever you're pushing with your functions, do you see yourself pushing on like, um, you went through all these standards, and this is scary, and the other person's not pushing themselves at those standards, and is that kind of like part of your argument? Like, are you like pushing on standards, like self standards in arguments?
Um, Not in what I say. I feel like that's what's driving the argument, but it's not what I'm articulating to the other person. I'm not articulating that I have been fucked off because this doesn't meet my standards, or this has morally pissed me off, or this doesn't, I'm not seeing this, I'm not seeing the NI of this. Like, that's not what I'm articulating to people. I think
Yeah.
what actually comes out is the ST. That's what starts to come out. But I think underneath that, it's driven by I've been fucked off, like NF, like this has just triggered me. But I'm
Oh,
using
interesting.
the ST as because it feels
Wow.
like I can't articulate because it feels like people won't believe me if I tell them it's about the NF because it just sounds like it's not valid enough. It's not um it's not good enough for an argument. So
Hmm.
I have to convey it as an ST thing so that they'll believe me. So that because I feel like that's what they'll hear. but underneath that, it's driven by the NF. It's driven by like I'm fucked off in the vibes here.
That's interesting. I think I know
I just feel like.
why. Like I feel like I think I know why there's this difference here between us because
Mhm.
I don't go in that direction, and maybe it's just as simple as I have sleep second and you have sleep third. Like maybe that's why, but I think it's I hate to be the person to do this, but like there's another personality system it's called voltology. They look at like visual signals and they just define the functions differently, but it's also objective.
Mhm.
Um, and I technically have TI. I'm like SETI in that system.
Mhm.
And it can like the definitions can overlap a bit. And I
Mhm.
think you have FI in that system. So
Mhm.
like we're like using it different. When I get upset and I like try to articulate more to a person, I'm technically using FE in their system a lot of the time, which FE in their
Mhm.
system is more about like beliefs or like social rules, like what you should
Mm.
do, what you shouldn't do, like and articulating that, right? But that's
Yeah.
technically not SETE.
Yeah.
That would maybe even be closer to SEFI in that sense. But like with FITE in that system, the FI is more about like pinpointing exactly how the emotion feels inside you. Um,
Mhm.
and it's like very like um, um, sensitive to that. Like if that emotion is getting moved, that they're very very sensitive to it. Um,
Mhm.
and then their TE is articulating more so like laws and like 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 actual ST like rules and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So like we're ending up pushing out, in my case FE in the system, and for you it'd be like more the TE side.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. Like even though we're such close types, and technically, you well, like I said, if you're ST second, I'm NF second. That might explain it as well. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Don't know if that was interesting. I'm that person. I brought out some
No
part of my
worries.
concern.
Yeah, no worries. I don't
Yeah.
mind.
So, all right. So more on your NF because I'm really curious. We are seemingly talking about it a little different. When you do use NF sleep, um, how would you describe your process of using it?
um, and that's okay. Now, because my process of using it is a bit more active, I have an app where if I feel triggered, so the app allows me to track how I feel and what's made me feel that way. So because now I know what it's like for me to be triggered. But what I wasn't doing before is I wasn't sitting down to understand why. I wasn't doing the NF. I wasn't doing the sleep processing. So now my process looks like, so I would feel that I'm triggered, but I would just carry on my day anyway. Like I would just roll over it. And then months down the line, something would happen that would make me snap. And then I would just throw it in people's faces. Um, because I wasn't addressing it at the time. I was just letting it all pile up and pile up. Whereas now my
Interesting.
process is I I always know what it feels like for me to be triggered. I just need to sit down, write it down, take that 5 minutes that I need to just figure out why I'm triggered, and I do that. Now I do that more when I feel it, whereas before I would when I started doing this process, I would only do it at the end of the day, which was much better than me not doing it at all and doing it 6 months down the line or 2 years down the line. But now I think where it's now being cemented as an active process in my routine, I do it in real time. So if I've been triggered where I have the opportunity to do that, I will literally sit down and figure out like what's happening and resolve it in the moment. Whereas before, when I started this process, I was only doing it at the end of the day, and even before that, I wasn't doing it at all. I was doing it 6 months too late.
Hmm, that's interesting. Um, 6 months, that's a long time. I'm not trying to judge you here. I'm like trying to compare it with myself because it's just one flip. Like it's sleep second, sleep third. It shouldn't be that much, but at least in my case, like the moments that I'm triggered, my brain is like doing this. Like I'm looking down and it's like sensing. It's like doing this, like looking and the feeling
Right,
and
right,
figuring it out immediately. Um, so like here in 6 months, I'm like, damn, like it's sleep third, but it's still like your play's like very activated on the
yeah,
flip side of that, I'm sure, right?
yeah.
So how does that like work for the play instead, like per second? Like the moment something logical doesn't make sense, you're like figuring out how it works, or
Yeah, I guess I'm just always ready to just when a situation demands it, just do. It's a little bit hard because my TE is single activated and it's feminine, so I don't see it. I don't see the block banging that I'm doing. It's very. I would say I can see my NI more than I see my TE. I don't see that because it's single activated and it's feminine, so I'm not really seeing it, even though it's part of play. But like, um, I guess with the ST play, yeah, if a situation demands it and I need to start doing the block banging, the thinking, and all of that stuff, like I will do that. Let's say I've you know we're making plans or something with friends, and then we need to all just start figuring it out. Like I could do that on the fly, um, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's a really bad example, but yeah, I
hmm.
suppose the play is always ready. Like I'm always ready if I need to, I guess.
I kind of hear it. I kind of hear it as you speak.
Oh,
Um,
really?
a lot of my typing process, and I shouldn't be saying this, but like a lot of my typing process is hearing the temperament. I can hear it.
Okay,
So
right.
like the ST and U, like TE, like thinking in general is puzzling. So
Mhm.
if it feels like from listening to you, it feels like you're getting this puzzle piece here and this piece here and this piece here, and you're like, okay, but maybe it could be this way, or maybe it could be that way, or this way, or this way. Like I can hear that. Like I can
Okay.
hear you're shuffling to look for what works.
Oh, okay, cool. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I don't see it in myself very well.
Hmm. Interesting. How about like using random stories from other people um in your play? Like, are you able to see that?
Yeah, I can see that. I do talk about people. Like I don't. I include people in stories, and I feel like there's a little bit. Um, yeah, I do. I see that. I definitely see that. I don't know where I was going with that thought, but yeah, I do include random stories about people as examples to try to illustrate my point even further, especially when I'm making an argument, when I'm trying to, not an argument as in like a fight, but when I'm trying to prove a point, just to add a little bit more weight to,
Hmm.
I do
So how
include.
does how might that look like? Would that be like, oh, this thing happened to that person and the result from their story is this, therefore I can use this as proof or a lead on what is true about what we're talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it'll be like out of context. It'll be like, oh yes, for example, so and so did this, and see now that justifies my point. Um, you know.
Hmm.
So it's just, but it could be just just a random out of context story of this other person that probably is so out of place in the conversation. But yeah, I'll just start dragging people in the conversation, and start using, oh yeah, my friend does this, oh yeah, my brother does this, oh yeah. Um, so I do include people in the stories.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think I've talked about like three random stories about three tribe members today. I talked about Tina, my brother, and my supervisor. So far, so
Yeah.
yeah, there you go. Random stories.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's funny. Like I do also like bring up people, but like it tends to be the same people.
Ah,
Like I'll bring up my ex-wife or like my mom or like people close to me. I don't end up bringing up like like people I just met, you know. Um, yeah.
yeah. I think I would do the same. I think of all the people that I talk about, I think my brother would probably be on the top number one. Talk about my brother, especially if it's related to something that I'm actually like. If I'm talking about work, I talk about my supervisor a lot. Um, I talk about my brother a lot. So yeah, I do bring up the same people. It's rare that I will talk about a stranger that I met on the bus because I feel like that's not
Mhm.
enough weight to the
Uh,
argument.
it's funny.
Also,
Occasionally, I'll come home and I'll just like talk shit about a stranger, but that's like as close as I get.
yeah, and I also
Like,
feel
I
like
guess,
yeah.
mhm. Like if somebody just like fucked up like something, like they fell in front of me and their face like hit the ground or something like that, I'll tell that to my mom.
Yeah.
Something
Oh,
like that.
okay. Yeah. 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 If it's funny, yeah. If it's
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I would say that I'm more likely to talk about somebody that people know as well,
Mm.
like to bring more weight to the. I'll try to pull from an example of someone we both know, so that you understand, that you have a little bit more context rather than, because I see a lot of like the play saviors, they'll just bring up some like their fucking neighbor who no, like I have no context. I'm never gonna understand what you mean about this person because sometimes there's like nuances in your interactions with somebody, and sometimes there's a lot of in jokes. So it's hard for me to picture or find meaning in the story that you're giving because I don't know this person. Whereas I feel like I'm more likely to share a story. Hopefully, if I can pull for an example of someone that we both know, just so you know what I'm talking about.
Interesting. So that's like a way of bridging. Um, oh, wait a second. I'm kind of like my sleep is figuring something out here. So like it feels
Okay.
like it feels like okay, it's like we're lead consumed with blast. We don't have blasts. With blasts, we directly, bridge context for the tribe.
Mhm.
Um, but because we don't have blast, we have to use, player sleep or both,
Mhm.
probably both,
Mhm.
to get there.
Mhm.
It seems
Mhm.
like you're using play to bridge, like to do the blast. So like you're like, okay, well, you know this person, so since you know that person, now you know things that are more similar
Ah,
to
yes, yeah,
the thing I'm trying to talk about.
yeah.
Um, but then like now I need to know about how you use sleep together because sleep is like adding in insights that can help you understand more about something else you're trying to talk about. Do you do that?
Yeah, I have a harder time doing that because even though I'm bridging, I'm still not fully going down to the blast zone. You're still not going to get a blast out of me. I might use the play to try to get to bridge to the blast, but it's still not going to come out right. So even with the sleep, I have a hard time, especially with people that I'm not close to, talking about my sleep. Like you will, yeah. There's a lot of people have called me private for that reason, just because people don't know um, intimate things about me unless they're very close to me. Um, so I do have a hard time, yeah, talking about the NS because it feels icky to start
Really?
talking about it. Yeah, it's like ugh, getting all
Mm.
emotional in front of people. It's like ugh.
Interesting. Huh.
But I'm happy to talk about other people's emotions, which is
Really?
weird. Yeah, yeah. I love it. I want it because it feels like it's giving me then permission. I feel like I'm not allowed to talk about my own feelings and unless somebody else is doing it. So it's kind of like I'm egging people on to do that so that I can feel okay to do
That is so funny. I'm the opposite in the sense that, like,
that.
I'll purposefully share sleep so that you share sleep.
Oh,
Yeah, I do
okay. So
that.
basically doing the same thing, just in the other. That's so funny.
I do it all the time,
So
and people.
funny.
It's funny, like a lot of people don't know that, like how sleep savior works sometimes, and like that's what I'm doing. Like I'm doing that because that's how I know how to get to play and blast. But then some people just think that I just want to talk about myself, and like yes, I did use that tool, but that doesn't mean that that's my goal. You
Yes,
know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So wait, did you do that in this conversation? Did
I
you do that?
probably
And
did.
I didn't.
I
I
definitely
didn't
did.
pick it up.
Yes. I definitely probably did. I mean, I recall, yeah, I did tell you some stories about myself, which technically they consume, but like
Yeah,
anytime I
you
do that
did.
when I'm talking to some, I'm just trying to like,
You
open the,
sneaky motherfucker. Yeah, you did. You talked about your health issues, and then I started to talk about my. Whoa, I feel bamboozled. That's so
yeah.
funny. Okay, that's really
That's
funny.
my strategy. You figured me out. I just
Zaya,
gave, okay,
excellent.
here, I'm gonna show you it in real time now. This is some of it in real time. I just told you my
Okay.
secret. So what do you think is gonna happen next?
Oh my God, no, no. You can't have my secrets. Okay, that's funny. That's the neat trick. I'm gonna use that. Okay. That seems that seems so much more effective than trying to force information out of people.
Hmm. I can do that too. Like I do, I do sometimes get a little annoying with like, oh, okay, well now you told me your secret, so now explain it with all the details and your email
Mm.
address and everything else too. Like,
Wow, that's so funny. So is
I'm
that what
kidding,
you
I'm
sleep
kidding.
saviors are doing all the time? That's so funny.
Yes, that is the land of consumed sleep. Yeah.
So okay, give me some tips on how to do like what like with when you're doing NF sleep. What is that looking like for you?
Okay. I just released a video yesterday explaining sleep, but not from my perspective. I did it from me watching other people do NF sleep. So it's just those
Mm.
observations. What I notice when I watch other people do NF sleep is it seems like it starts out as an emotional experience and then the NI catches up.
Yes,
Um,
yeah,
so it's like first they feel like, oh no, like it's that little feeling, and
yes,
then like, and then they start to like the NI starts like, oh, that feeling is connected to like this is why it's because that's connected to this and to that and to that and to that,
yeah, yeah,
and then that leads to like either like as like the NI is catching up, the FI either gets stuck or it can go all the way until the NI is fully, done. Like it's like a movie kind of. Um, and if the FI gets stuck, then the NI has to stop, and then that's the freak out usually. Um, and then they like to assisted in continuing the process. They have to come back to the FI at a later time, or they can ask it questions. And when you ask the FI questions, then you can unblock it. Um, am I making sense?
yeah. No, it's because I'm doing all of that. I'm just doing it slower than you. So
Hmm.
it's validating for me to hear this because it's like, okay, so I'm doing it right. I'm on the right lines here. But yeah, carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's literally just that. It's just making your emotional worlds update to reality. And of course, being lead SC, that's like my framing of it, but just making it what it's supposed to be, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, that's super dope. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I do have the
Yeah.
video up there if anybody wants to watch it. It is uploaded.
Oh, I keep forgetting that we have people watching.
We have 5 people right now, and
Oh
just three
wow! Hello,
comments.
5 people.
3 comments from the same person, Lake. She's our fan.
Yes. Thank you so much for engaging. Like, we love you.
We're very appreciative. If
Very, very
anybody else
appreciative.
wants to join that,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah.
So, hmm, interesting.
Dope, dope.
Yeah, like anything else about the NF sleep? Um, yeah, I mean, I broke it down very simple. Yeah, it's just, updating your emotional world, and
Yeah.
using insights and connections, um, like as the landscape of that update.
Yeah.
Um, and how about play? Do you have any tips on how to do play?
um, this one is hard for me to see because it's double feminine. I I have a hard time seeing my ST. The only thing that I can say is um what the only thing that I can't I can see the animal play, but I can't see the functions. If that makes sense, I can see how I'm using play as an animal, but I'm not seeing how I'm using the functions of um ST play. Does that make sense?
Really? Huh.
Yeah, so I can see that I'm doing the whole jumping over the fencing,
Okay.
but I'm not seeing the block banging. I'm not seeing the reporter thing. I'm not seeing that, but I can see the jumping over the fence thing. That I can see. If that
Yes, it
makes
makes
sense.
sense. I can, that's funny. I don't know, maybe because it's third for me, it's a lot easier for me to see it, but um yeah, it's just I mean, like, so sensory is like definitions, the facts, the substance, the thing, the actual object. And then like with the TE, it's like trying to make like because of the object or the fact or the material or whatever it is, what is logical as an argument because of those things.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm.
So like when they're speaking, it sounds like, especially if they're TESE, it's just a lot easier for me to hear that one. But when they're speaking, it's like um, a lot of it is going to be like this person said this logical idea, and there's all these facts to support it or behind it or part of the context of that logical statement. And they get like multiple strings, like multiple people's ideas with the SE attached to it, and they try to like puzzle it out until it like they arrive at the most logical or sensical thing to say, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like, is that visible at all to you? Like, when a person's being logical and using sensory together, like, is that visible?
Um, I think so. Um, I think so. I would say I can see the um pragmatic side of me. I can see when I'm being very pragmatic, if that's at all what you mean.
Pragmatic. Hmm. I mean, that's more like a quality than
Oh,
a an action, I think.
okay,
That's yeah.
okay, yeah. Um, I guess the closest thing that I could say is probably when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I can see how I'm doing the back and forth of trying to think a little bit more rationally about this
Okay.
situation. I can see that.
Yeah. Hmm.
So if I'm having a conversation, I can
So
see
you
me
see
trying to
play.
figure out,
I see. So
yeah,
you're seeing a lot of the play. Hmm.
yeah. I guess it comes out a lot in conversations with other people. Like I can sit
Hmm.
here and I can have a conversation with you and I can talk about things in a rational way, um, and
Hmm.
figure things out together. But I can just as easily throw that out,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
um, when the situation demands it. I suppose is what I mean by that. It's like
Hmm.
um, we don't have to figure something out, but if we need to, then I can.
Huh.
It's
Interesting.
really this one I really struggle seeing my SG. I really do.
Hmm. I wish
I
I
guess I
could
just haven't.
communicate it better. I wish.
Mm,
I wish I wasn't blessed last. That's one
yes,
thing.
right. I think that's another
Uh,
thing. Yeah, like I'm trying to, and also I don't think I've built enough of an NI around SC play yet. Anyway,
that's what's
so
like hurting me though, like that because I do understand it. I just don't know how to say it. So
yeah.
um, like let me say it this way. A lot of ST play is playing around with how things can work. Um, so you may state like, oh, well, something could be this, but it could also be that, and it can also it might work like this or it might work like that. Um, like
Okay. Yeah.
there's a lot of that pendulum of like back
Yeah.
and forth between how it can work, especially if it's femininity.
Yeah.
Um, so do you hear that?
Yeah. I guess when I'm at home and we're talking about things like home stuff, like let's say something needs fixing,
Hmm.
I can sit there and have a conversation about, this is how it works, this is how we should do this is how we should do it, and figuring out in that way. I can see that.
Well, that was ST play just now. You gave me
Oh,
a physical situation and then what you can do. It's SC and then
oh,
LTE. Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah. It's very feminine, so it just feels like air to me. It all molds together. I think sometimes that I
Ah,
can't lock onto it very clearly. So I'm just
interesting.
probably doing it unconsciously and not realizing I'm doing it.
Interesting. Dave was actually unsure if I was double feminine or MF, and I feel
Mm,
like, I mean, just looking at my typings in other systems, I feel like the MF makes more sense.
okay.
But I can also see arguments for double feminine. I'm also, I feel the same way as him. Like I can see both. I could make a case for both all day long.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like if I am MF, like this is part of the case for it. Like I can see the ST play for
Right.
sure. Like that, it's always been easy to hear it in like other people and in myself.
Right.
Um, and I can tell when I'm doing it because I can sense the puzzling and it feels uncomfortable. So
Oh, okay. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that might be part of it. It's a little more uncomfortable for me, so maybe that's why like I'm doing it right now. Like yeah, like just
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a little bit more uncomfortable for you.
mm,
Even though we're both like single activated anyway, potentially
right,
feminine
yeah.
FT, but yeah, you seem
Well,
to.
technically they call it inactivated, with having a third and fourth in the animal.
Oh,
I don't even
okay.
have it. Yeah.
It's like completely off the radar. Damn, that's yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Yes.
a sticky situation.
Plus being French last. I mean, it's really bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We are approaching
Yeah.
2 hours. If there's anything
Mhm.
else you wanna like bring up, or if you wanna go past two, just tell me. But if there's anything specific you wanna add within this last bit.
I don't have anything specific. Um, I'm just happy to go with the flow of the conversation. um, yeah, I don't have anything specific.
Hmm. Let me come up with
I'm
something.
so
So.
unprepared for this. I thought I would just come and just see how it goes. Such an early thing to do.
Yeah. No, I get you. I mean, I when I first started interviewing, I was a little bit more structured, a little bit more. I would create a an order that I would go through
Yeah,
the interview, and I would stick to it for the most part. But then, like as I
yeah,
went through more interviews, um, I just kind of I like it better when we have an actual conversation.
yeah. I feel like as well, where you've been doing it more and more, you just get more comfortable in your interviewing skills, and so you're less concerned about, oh, can I hold a conversation, and more just going with what feels right in the moment. Um, I
That's a great
recently started a
topic, by the
podcast
way.
too. Oh, okay.
That's an amazing topic. Let's talk about the SF show for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Sure,
Take
let's
it
go
from
for
here. Take it
it.
from here. If there's anything you want to say about it.
um, are we talking in relation to just 512, just how it's going general, just number one, like what are we?
So how was it for you at the beginning? Like since your blast lasts, like when you first started with the SF show, what was like some kind of like nervousness you had about using the blasts on the show, or like let's start there, like the nervousness.
I felt like I didn't have anything valuable to contribute to conversations. Um,
Mm,
I was, you could probably, like an example is this conversation. In the like, if, looking back at this conversation, you'll probably see that I'm a little bit more nervous. But as we've gone through it, I'm a little bit more comfortable. Like I'm relaxed. I feel a little bit more myself, and that's how it started off with the SF show. I was very, oh no, I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything worth saying. I don't have anything valuable to contribute to conversations. But I feel like I still feel like that a little bit. Um, but I feel like as the episodes have gone on, I because I'm comfortable with the guys, um, and I'm getting comfortable being on camera now, whereas before I wasn't. I was very awkward and very nervous. The more that I am, I just feel like I'm a little bit more relaxed and can start to speak, um, and start to talk about things in the moment rather than being very, very nervous and feeling like I have to know everything that's going to be said so that I can have something valuable to say, so I can respond in the right way. Um, so yeah, it was just a lot of fear that I wouldn't be able to articulate myself. I wouldn't have anything valuable to contribute. Nobody wants to listen to me talk anyway. Um, all of that stuff, which you probably already know.
no, I
Yeah.
get you. I mean, a lot of it's like save your FI specifically because like we have this idea in mind of how valuable we're going to be before it
Mm.
even happens. So then we end up like rejecting other types of work that have nothing to do with creating that specific type of value that we want. But then like we lose out on general value, and that's less valuable than um like having something that just may not be what you thought, right?
Mm. That's
Yeah.
so interesting. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, yeah, that makes
So,
sense.
okay. So with the SF show, so you did end up interviewing people, right, on the show?
Yeah, we interview people quite frequently. Yeah.
So tell me about that. Like when you started interviewing people, how was that like? Like mentally, what were some things that you had to think about?
So we take it in turns to interview our counterparts. So as of yet, I've only done one episode where I've interviewed, um, where I've been the interviewer. Actually, no, two episodes actually, where I've taken the lead on, because we take it in turns. So I've done two episodes where I've taken the lead on doing the interviewing. And sorry, what was your question again?
What were some things you had to think about
Oh
when
yeah,
you started? Yeah.
I was very concerned about coming up with interesting questions,
Hmm.
coming up with questions that people are going to care about, because I felt like I was just going to ask dumb questions.
Hmm.
Um, so that was something that I was thinking about, and I needed to prepare in advance questions. But even then, I felt like I was asking dumb questions, you know? So for me, it's always just an insecurity about this is just going to sound dumb. This is just going to be stupid. No one's going to fucking care about this. I'm such an idiot, you know? Like, just, yeah, just all of those,
Yeah.
just all of those questions. Yeah. So I had to think about, I was really hung up on trying to make sure that I asked
Hmm.
smart questions.
Hmm. I see.
Yeah.
I get you. It's like how I feel right now. Um,
And is that how you feel? I'm so sorry if I'm adding to the pressure,
no,
but
no,
yeah,
no.
I
I'm
get it.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I got you. I
But
know
I
how it
think of like
feels.
similar. I think of a very similar thing. Like I'm always. I mean, like, yeah. Like I don't want to sound like I'm not thinking of the smartest thing to be thinking about right now. Like, you know. Um,
Yes,
but I'm
yes,
putting like too much pressure on like it has to be the smartest thing instead of just
yes,
being in the spectrum. You know, like normality.
yes,
Uh,
yes, exactly.
yeah. So okay. Um. How about like, did you feel challenged when you were trying to get to know the people that you were interviewing on the show? Like using the TE to the full extent where like you actually like get to know them, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think so because we all get on well.
Hmm.
Because we've met before on the meetup, and then um we meet in the OPS Anonymous and the
No, no, I mean the people
class.
that you interview, like when you're getting to know them.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, no. So there isn't really any getting to know these people before we interview. It's literally find someone to interview, book a recording, have them on, and then see you later. That's it. I feel
Um,
like it's the most observatory way of like, dude, like
but it's
just
also
don't do
transactional.
the.
Very transactional. I mean, it's a very number of one approach to do that. So.
You know what? Actually, that is so true because I feel like because we all take it in turns to invite people that we interview. I feel like the way that
Oh.
Emmanuel does it, she will interview people that she knows and already has established relationships with, and she's supposedly number two, so she's like friend savior.
Hmm.
So it's like, whereas I'm not doing that. I'm like picking any random person that fits and just throwing them in there.
Oh my God.
Not that I don't like these people or can get on with them. It's not like we're just I hate these people. Like they're very lovely people, and I'm always just so happy to have these people on the show. But it's like I feel like the way that I'm doing it versus the way that Emmanuel's doing it, she's like picking people who are already in her circle of friends or people that she has some kind of relationship with already, and I'm just like, yeah, whoever's willing and ready, you'll do.
Hmm.
Which seems like a very diva friends thing to do.
I know, and what like stresses me out about it is like, does it ever make you feel like a hypocrite?
In what way?
So like in your head, you're saying like, oh, I'm gonna reach out to this person, we're gonna have a great time, and if maybe you're like with the flex, you're telling them like, oh, I'm offering you this big thing, I'm giving you this thing, but then it's like you're in and you're out and bye. Like it can maybe conflicts a little bit, you think? Like how it feels about
Mm,
like do you feel like a hypocrite? Is what I'm trying to say.
no, I feel
Mm,
like because I've already established the expectations.
mm,
I feel well, but maybe that's just coming from me. Maybe that's not how other people are seeing it. Maybe other people are seeing it differently. But the way I'm seeing it is,
hmm.
what you're coming on the SF show for a reason, and that's to be interviewed. And those are the parameters of our relationship, and it's fine. Like,
Maybe you don't see it then.
I don't think I'm so ignorant to this. It's so bad. I'm so sorry to all of the guests that I've had on the show that you feel that I've made you feel like a transaction. I'm so sorry. Please accept my sincerest apologies. You are people to me too.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, that's kind of it. Like some people, like I guess people that are like, friend savior or maybe higher DE or something like that, anything like that.
Mm, mm,
Um, they may like, I don't know, like this more of a friendship created through that process. Because like you're right, like on the ST side of things, you're right. They are just signing up for this criteria of what's going to happen, right? Like it's that
mm,
simple. It's that like SE clear.
mm.
Um, but like yeah,
Don't do that 'cause now I feel so. The more that you laugh, the more that I'm seeing it, and the more that I'm seeing how ridiculous that is so bad. Oh my god.
oh my God, yeah,
And
like
people, I would not recommend being number
the
one. The worst.
on the French side of things, like imagine like, and sometimes I tell people this, put yourself in their shoes.
Yeah.
Like imagine you're getting interviewed by Maria from the SF show. you
Yeah. Oh
know,
my god.
and
Yeah.
it's like,
I
okay,
might as
you're
well be
in.
sticking these people on. Yeah, like I might as well be sticking these people on conveyor belts. Like next, bring them up. Next.
They ask you the questions, and then it's kind of like that's it. Like, why are you still here? Like leave. Like,
Again, I am sincerely sorry for people who've been interviewed and been traumatized by my interviewing approaches. People, I'm please accept my sincerest apologies.
oh my God. I don't know how I did it, but
Wow.
I've successfully swung into my friend stage, and I've even argued for the friends. I've even
Yes,
argued for them today.
you are on your way, man. You're on your way.
I'm gonna be
This
retyped, and
is
I'm gonna be a form.
number one alpha right here.
Oh my God. Okay, let's see. Hmm. So like, okay, let's put some flex into here. So, like, do you feel like there's a difference between the other cast members of the SF show that are not Savior Flex, like the way that they use SF? Like, do you think it's different?
That's a good question. Yeah, I feel like I think me and I actually think Emmanuel. If we're going by what we think everyone is, I think Emmanuel is the only one that's not Savior Flex. Um, and that's a good question.
Hmm.
Probably one that I haven't actually thought about, but I'm now that you mention it, I'm going to look for it. Um,
Oh, so Sam is he a one or a three?
I think he's a three. I've heard other people say that they think he's a three.
Hmm.
He thinks he's a number 10.
Okay, maybe that's a one. I don't know. I think a one would say that.
Definitely a flex, right? It's definitely a flex.
Yeah. Okay.
um,
Hmm.
I think it's a three. I haven't seen this specialized.
Hmm. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I've seen him do what he does for a long time now. So, um,
He's
like
very
for an
meticulous
EP,
about. Yes,
yeah.
yes, he's very serious about his craft,
Hmm. Yeah.
about his personal training craft. Very, very serious.
Hmm.
A lot more focused than
That's
I would be on one gig.
hmm. That is interesting because, like, being a number three as a play consume blast sleep for whatever reason, I was talking to this with my friends in my group chat. For some reason, the play consume blast sleep are very rarely number threes.
Hmm.
Very rarely. Most of the time, they're number twos. Sometimes, very, also kind of rarely number one, but it's the most rare for them to be a three for some reason.
Wow. So he's unique on top of unique, being an EP.
He's an 11.
He's an 11. Yes, he's a double one.
Oh my God. Hmm.
Yes. Okay. I didn't know that. I wonder why that is.
Yeah. Hmm. I don't know why either. I guess like maybe it has something to do with like play consume blast sleep. That's a very proper skib. It's like properly skibby. Um, so maybe that's why it's so incongruent that like it's even more rare to like genetically get that
Yeah.
coincidence. I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm. Do you ever see yourself? Okay, this is a funny question, but like, do you ever see yourself like flex NT on the SF show at all? Like, do you use NT a lot there? Or
No, I try not to.
okay, okay, I figured.
I don't. I don't want to set unrealistic standards that I can't meet.
I know that one. Oh my god. Oh my god. I feel like I'm worse than you. Honestly, I'm way worse than you. In the sense that I don't care. Like sometimes I don't even think about like the unrealistic standards thing. I just go for it and then I look stupid and I learn the hard way. But you seem to have like a restraint, like you know.
My worst fear is to look stupid. Like I just do not want to look. So I just won't even go there. Like oh god, I can't handle it. Cringe.
Oh my god.
Aim low, and aim low, and you won't be disappointed.
Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, if there's something I'm taking away is that you're better than me with flex. Like you're smarter about it. Um, it seems like you know what you can flex. Like you're even able to flex with your SF, whereas like that came a lot later for me. Like I just did the stupid thing right away. Like I just immediately went for flexing STNT, and I looked very dumb, especially in the OPS community. Like coming here, oh my God, I've been like kicked out of communities before because of like flexing ST and NT specifically.
Right, right.
Yes, this has happened. Like in the Enneagram, the EU community, like the first thing I did when I got there, before I even learned their system, I just immediately started fighting people in the comments. Like this is like I tried to like reinvent the instincts that they
Oh my
have.
god.
I just totally reinvented it because
That is
in the
so
EU
number
system,
one.
they have something called well, they have. the social instinct, self-preservation, and sexual. So I had a beef with sexual because to them it was directly connected to sex.
Right.
Um, it was like directly like trying to be attractive, trying to like um, just attract a mate, right? And they typed me as sexual blind, meaning sexual is my last instinct. And I'm like, no. Well, when I was fighting them, it was actually before that. I was trying to reinvent the definitions of their instincts before I even knew what they were. Um, and yeah, I was trying to say like I was just like trying to like make it work in a way that made sense to me. Like it had to make sense to me. And I just fought them so hard. Like I it was like I burned down so many bridges that they had to kick me out.
I love that you just like you're still here, like telling the tale, and just like you're
I,
so double observed. Like I love the double observing energy. Like I love the energy. So I wish I had that kind of confidence to be like telling people that I want to reinvent a whole system that came before me. Like I love it. That is so flex.
I learned the hard
That
way.
is
Like it was a mistake, to be honest, to go through all of that because like and now they think that's who I am. Like they see me as the guy that's gonna go reinvent everything, and I
that's
can't take that back.
that's why. Like I'm just that's exactly what it is. Like I'm just so conscious of having an identity cemented. Like other people having a version of myself that I don't that conflicts with who I see myself as. That is like the worst fear for me.
Yes.
It's like I get so pissed when people have an opinion of me that's different from the opinion that I have of myself. Like I get so mad. I'm just like, that's not me. Just like get so mad. So yeah,
No,
like
for
what you're
real.
saying is everything that I'm doing is to prevent that. Like, because I'm just trying to. It's the whole thing about they talk about like controlling the narrative of you or something like that. Like wanting
Hmm.
to control because we
Yeah.
are the brand, right? It's not like with the specialized who they're flexing the product, they're flexing
Hmm.
the craft, right? But for us, we are the product, we are the brand. Us as
Hmm.
people, us as individuals, so we're flexing ourselves.
Um, I never thought of it that way. That actually makes a
Mm,
lot of sense. Like
mm,
ESFP plus number one, especially SEFI,
mm,
is like very focused on like being the product. Hmm.
mm,
There is something there because a lot of like these famous ESFPs that are flex or like number ones, like Kim Kardashian. I mean, obviously, she is the product. I mean, it's literally her brand is Kim K or something like
yeah,
that.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder if a lot of those flexer SS consume people are um, self-named brands.
Jeffree Star is a makeup artist that I suspected would be a number one.
Mm,
And his company is Jeffree Star. Um,
mm.
hmm.
Because when they were talking about flex putting your name on something, I don't relate to that. I would never put my name on something.
Really?
Yeah, because I am the name.
Hmm.
I would never be like, oh, I'm I'm putting Maria on this product and that's me flexing. The
Hmm.
product is me, you know?
But is the brands that you're selling, do you think it would represent um like okay, so I'll say it this way. Do you think the energy behind the brands would be that you have a very large presence or something like that? Like would
Yeah,
that be
also
part of
being
the vibe?
yeah, because I've talked about how SF consume sometimes is kind of like sometimes seeing yourself as a what do you guys call it in the state? Like a mantelpiece,
Um,
a,
an art
like a
piece,
no, like a prize on the like a I don't know what you guys call it.
a masterpiece, right?
I guess so. Like
No.
when you've got um like
Hmm.
you come into your house and then you've got, I don't know, the fireplace or something. You've got like a trophy on top of it. Um, it's the
Oh, a
first thing that you see
trophy.
when you walk into a room. Yeah, like I suppose like sometimes FS can seem kind of is kind of like seeing itself as a trophy and wanting to be adored and admired. Um,
An object of obsession or something like that, right?
maybe not obsession, but just admiration,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
then, I posed that to people, a lot of SF consumers, and they didn't relate to that. So I don't know what that was, but um, yeah,
Hmm.
I feel like with the, I don't know, maybe it's just a pattern that I'm maybe seeing, but especially like if you think about like the Kardashians, it's like it seems like they are the front men of their own brands, of their whole thing. Like they're not behind the scenes. They're not letting their work do the talking. You know what I mean? They're not like letting their skills do the talking or the work that they do. They're not letting that shine for itself. They are the ones who are shining front front and center, if that's making any sense.
Oh, wait, main character. You mean like a main character vibe, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. Um
Like the
just
front
being the
person.
yeah, like the front person, yeah. Like the
Hmm.
face
So,
man.
so are you saying that SCFI already has that vibe?
I feel like yeah,
Hmm. I mean, it makes sense. I
especially
mean,
with especially with the flex.
yeah,
I'm
I mean,
not seeing
it
that with the
makes a lot of literal sense in the sense that SF is physical value, so that's physical value, and then like DI and plus SE, so it's very literally um like being the front face of something that's meant to be very valuable.
yeah, something like that.
So we probably like overflex that component. Maybe we miss an aspect of flexing that somebody of totally different type would have more of. Because I did interview like other types that are number ones, mostly betas. I interviewed Tom Alot. He's an ENFJ, a double feminine, FESC play blast consume sleep, and
Mm,
it seemed like his flex was more like flexing the people that he knows is part of it. Um,
mhm,
and it felt like there was a component to flex that's actually anti-flexing,
mhm.
where like you don't flex um, directly. Like
Right,
I'll say this way, like you withhold your flex, and
right,
that is like part of the game.
right.
That I feel like I still feel like even though we're Savior DI, not all of us are like flexing in the most obvious, like upfront way. Like sometimes we can still hold it back a bit,
Mhm,
regardless.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Like, do you think you're part of that? Like, do you think that you hold back quite a lot considering being lead flex?
Hold back what?
Like, you try to not take the spotlight, try not to be the front face of something or stuff like that.
Only if I know that I'm gonna look stupid doing it.
Okay.
This is what I was talking about earlier. Like I will never flex something that I know that I'm not gonna be able to like do well.
Hmm.
So if I know I'm not going to look good doing it, I'm not going to flex it. But if I know that I'm going to look good flexing it, I will flex it.
Hmm.
Just reading the comment, depending on the industry, your literal name being on it would be a good thing. So the work or brand would represent you. Okay. Yeah, I see that.
That makes sense to me. I was thinking
Yeah.
like, as an SEFI, you would have a lot of like consciousness around where your specific vibe can impact something else. So
Mhm.
like maybe you try to like put forward an aspect of your FI or your vibe that would make your company look better. But if there's not something that you can put forward easily, like if it's not like authentic to you, or maybe somebody else is better for pushing something, like pushing that company forward, do you think
Mm.
maybe that like that is the situation when you like withhold the flex and take on a different role?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if I know that I'm not the best person for the job. Like if I know that somebody else is going to do better at it, then I'm happy to let them take the center stage. I would secretly be wishing it was me that was at the center of the stage, but I do. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Like I said, I wouldn't flex on something that I know I can't that I'm going to look stupid doing it. Because there's no point in me flexing for the sake of flexing.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to flex, I have to have something to flex.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, it's just sensory. Like it just makes sense. Um, yeah. Huh. I get you. Hmm.
Mm, yeah,
Well, I feel like
yeah.
we've covered everything plus some fun topics. If you have anything else that comes to mind, you have like about a minute to bring it up. Yeah.
um, name being on it may or may not be good. I said the first comment incorrectly. Oh, okay. Name being okay. Sorry. No, I don't have anything else to add. Apart from thank you for having me. It was a nice conversation.
All
Um,
right.
I took a lot from this. I learned a lot. Nuggets that I'm going to take away with me.
Yeah.
Sorry. Um,
It's been great. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been a really, really good 2.5 hours. We spoke about a lot of things. We related
yeah.
back and forth a lot. And we even taught each other. So we did some friends.
Yes. Yay. Yay, friends.
So we're friends. Yay.
Yay.
We have permission to say that. So, all right. All right,
Cool.
guys. So thank you if you watched. Bye bye.
Yeah. Thank you for watching and sticking around. Thanks, guys. Bye.